Dear learners, welcome to the counseling session of Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU Study Center, Bishop College, Tiruchirappalli. So today we will be dealing with English communication skills, BEGAE 182. Let me share my screen. If it is visible, just say yes in the chat screen. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir.
So let us understand, first of all, what is communication, right? Why do we communicate? As you are students from various disciplines, right? You may be from BA or BCom, BAG program or BSc program, and all of you have this paper, English communication skills. Why English? Why we need to master this language? And first of all, let us understand why we communicate, right? What is the purpose of communication? So the general definition, dictionary definition is communication is to exchange thoughts or make known information, feelings by speech or writing or other means. Or we can simply put it as communication means just sharing of information, right? Sharing of information. And when communication in the context of, speaking of communication in the context of an organization, it's very important, right? It is the lifeblood of any organization. Without communication, it is impossible to live, right? Without communication, it is not possible to achieve success for an organization, right? And basically, we can divide communication into two types. You know that, most of you: formal and informal communication. So, what is formal communication and what is informal communication? Whom do you communicate with? Can you just tell me a few points in the chat box? What is formal? What is informal? And if it is formal communication, who is the person you communicate with? Maybe give some examples. If it is informal communication, to whom do you communicate? Right? What is that? Can I get some answers in the chat box? Formal can be an interview, right? An interview, an interviewer and an interviewee, between two people, right? Communication basically happens between two people, right? Can I get some answers? Hello? Yes. Thank you for your answers. Informal with family and friends, Pinkla says. And Reshika says formal communication with boss, professors. Informal means with family and friends. That's good. Amrita, Amo, formal can be an interview, right? Great, great. Shiva says formal communication example can be while talking to a respected person. Yes. Informal communication between family and friends, Lena says. Oh, that's good. Ujay says family or friends with a well-known person. To higher officials, Hema Shankar says formal means talking to higher officials, teachers. Informal, you know that family and friends, right? That's the understanding you have. That's good. Right, that's right. That's very much right. Right. Can you see this picture between sharing? Can communication happen between maybe with an individual? Always there is communication between two people. You should always have one more person to communicate, right? One or more person is needed for communication to happen. So think of communication in various contexts. So let us understand what is this communication cycle. Okay, we think of a sender, a receiver, right? Can you see this picture? Right, there is always communication that happens between two persons, right? There is always a sender and a recipient, receiver. And what happens in this process of communication? This is very important. You should know the communication cycle. It goes cyclic in a cyclic manner. So there is always encoding, decoding, and a channel. And a channel may be anything. Channel may be email, channel may be a letter, a telephone, right? You decide to choose for communication. For formal communication, you may choose a channel like letter writing or email, right? For an informal communication, to talk with your friends, you may choose to talk over phone or face to face. You may meet your friend and talk, right? It happens. So the channel is to be decided by you based on the context of the communication. You are going to decide which channel it is according to the purpose of the communication. To achieve the purpose of communication, depending on the context, you choose that. So how this cycle works? The sender sends the message. You can see the arrow mark, right? Encoding. Encoding is you think something and you put those things into words, right? You have some information to communicate and you encode that. From your thoughts, you put it into words and you choose a channel and then you send to the receiver. So the receiver receives the message and he decodes it. He tries to understand the message and gives feedback. So only if you receive response from the receiver, only if you get feedbacks from the receiver, you will understand that you have communicated successfully. Only then the communication cycle is successful. You have to understand that. So is that clear? Communication cycle, sender, receiver. In between sender and receiver, the sender encodes the message and he chooses a channel. He or she chooses the channel and sends the message, and the receiver decodes the message and finally gives the feedback. So just understand what is encoding and decoding. Encoding is the process of turning thoughts into communication. The encoder uses a medium to send the message, a phone call, an email, or a text message, or an SMS, right? Face-to-face meeting, or other communications tool. So sending the message. So decoding, the audience then decodes or interprets the message for themselves. And decoding is the process of turning communication into thoughts, receiving the message. So I'll just play a short video of the communication cycle. Just watch it. Can you hear the sound from the video? Can you see the video? Is the audio and video clear? Can you hear? Can you hear?
There's no audio.
No audio. Now, can you hear?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a simple video. Did you see how the boy right, sends a message? Okay, he encodes, have a fantastic day. He encodes the message, formulates a message, and he sends that through a letter, postcard, and finally he receives the receiver receives the message and gives feedback. What's the feedback? Thank you. That's a simple video on how to understand the communication cycle. Is that clear? Let's move on to barriers of communication. So in the process of communication, there are so many barriers. When you try to communicate with anybody for that matter, people are joining, right? Vocabulary, background knowledge and shared assumptions, pronunciation, intonation, accent and stress, culture specific, physical environment, affective factors, right? How these can be barriers to communication. Vocabulary. So you should know uh, which vocabulary to use, okay, while speaking, depending on the context and the audience you are choosing. So if you're talking to a learned person, a literate person, you should know what vocabulary to use. If the person is illiterate, you should know what kind of vocabulary to use. So using simple or complex vocabulary, right? If you are speaking as if you are speaking to a scientist, okay, if you are a scientist, for example, if you are using jargons or registers in the language of a scientist or in the language of an intellectual, the person will not understand, right? Then that becomes a barrier in communication. So similarly, background knowledge and shared assumption. Each of us have our own set of views, right? Our own assumptions, beliefs, ideas. All these things will interfere in the communication process. So while communicating about a particular topic or some information, you should understand the background knowledge of the audience, how much they know, what to communicate. So when a teacher teaches, and the teacher should understand the audience and know what is the knowledge level of the audience. For a child, you cannot give a lecture, right? For a school student, we cannot give a lecture. For you, you are all learned people, you are all doing your college degree, right? You are higher secondary, you are higher education student. So lecture is a good mode of communication, right? Likewise, according to the age, according to the knowledge of the audience, you should choose your communication, the level of communication, and their assumptions, whatever they have. Some people will have culture specific assumptions, prejudices, okay, which interfere, okay, in the communication process, right? And pronunciation, how you pronounce, how you give stress to particular words, that will alter the meaning of communication, right? That's very important. You should, the punctuation or the comma, wherever you keep, it changes, right, the communication process. So you should be very careful while dealing with it. Culture specific. Culture specific in the sense, maybe giving a handshake is a common gesture, right? And it is not proper to give a handshake to an Indian woman, right? You should understand that. Likewise, you should understand the culture specific attitudes, behaviors while communicating, while especially in cross cultural communications. That's very important. Physical environment, and there should not be any affective factors, right? Affective factors at the emotional level. You should not be angry, you should not show your emotions, all these things. If you are in a bad mood, you will not communicate properly, right? You should be saying, you should be proper, you should not be affected by emotions. So many things, factors are there in the communication process. Okay, all these can be barriers. Vocabulary, background knowledge and shared assumptions, pronunciation, intonation, accent and stress, culture specific, physical environment and affective factors. I'll just show you a small simple video again, and see, I want you to respond, okay, after the video. What is the barrier here? A failure to communicate, maybe the attitude of the uh, communicators. I want you to respond. Okay.
Excuse me? Hello? Hey, I'm a human being. If you don't want to help, at least say so.
Hello, I am deaf. I may have trouble comprehending you. Thank you for your consideration. Usually, I read your lips to understand you.
Oh.
If you like, you could let this convert your speech to text for me.
Okay. Could you tell me?
Want to try again? Attention passengers. All is well. Thank you. Low power shutting down.
Oh, yay!
Attention passengers. Line 4 is delayed for 1 hour. Thank you.
Can you respond to this video? Can you respond?
So there was no common language between them.
Right.
There was no common language between them.
Sorry. Come again. Yes. Yeah, you may speak now.
There was no common language between them, sir.
Okay.
And other person was deaf.
Right, right. But
And
she was not able to understand that in the beginning, right? Why?
in audience condition based, sir, communication is.
Right. Audience attitude. Maybe most of the time she would have been refused or nobody would have responded to her. Maybe so she thought that this person is also not responding, but she did not understand that she is deaf. Okay. Finally, they were able to understand each other. Right. After some time, maybe any other barrier, physical barrier. Can you spot the train? The trains.
It was the train sound once, and then
That's
the
right.
other time it was the announcement from the metro station.
Okay. Okay. Anything related to culture or belief or specific that becomes a barrier there.
And the
Yeah,
girls,
she was a Muslim, so
girl
she
was
couldn't
wearing
remove her.
Okay, that's
traditional
good.
dress.
That's good. She is wearing a veil, so she was not able to read the lips. The other person is not able to read the lips because she's deaf. She wanted to comprehend her, but she was not able to do because she was not able to see her face. Right, that's good. Fantastic answers. Train sound and the girl was Muslim. You can talk to me or you can chat in the chat box. The girl is a deaf and the other one did not want to lift her hijab because of her religious customs. Right. Okay. Okay, that's good. We'll move on. We'll move on to the next part. Right. So communication and social change. So how communication influences society, right? From the level of family to the nation and our value system. So many things are there when we talk about communication. And when I was talking to you about communication, why it is important, right? And how it has changed our life, right? For you, especially those who are from commerce field, right? Communication is very important for business, right? We have a separate field of study called business English, right? Where everything related to business jargon, business registers, business language we learn, right? So how communication has influenced our lives, right? Our family, our values, right? So many things we communicate. We communicate to the other person, and especially talking about printing press, how printing press has changed our life, right? Previously, when we talk of ancient societies, right, even before printing press was invented, most of the things were through oral communication, right? Only after the invention of printing press, you understand that literate societies formed. People started writing, and there was a lot of books to read, and people started creating literate societies. Right? Previously, everything was just oral. Right? That is how, if you see the history of communication, one important invention is printing press that changed the way we deal with each other, right? The way we communicate with each other, and how literate societies has formed because of the invention of printing press. Language and the new technology. How technology has changed language. Can you say some examples? One I've given here is SMS, right? The way we communicate through SMS, how we have, okay, using acronyms and short forms, right? ASP as soon as possible, something like that, right? How we have a reduced language, or we have found new forms of language. Technology is influencing the way we communicate, right? Through WhatsApp, through SMS. So, language and technology, there is a relation, and there are people who are doing research on that, how much, what kind of language we are using, right? Why we are using such kind of short forms, right? People don't advise to use that because it is not good. But previously, we were communicating in short sign languages, right? In ancient days, when we were primitive men and women, we were communicating through short forms, through sign language, right? All these things, maybe we are going to the past and the future, right? In different ways. So we should understand how communication affects society, and how society communicates in turn affects communication. So what is the difference between speech and conversation? Speech and conversation.
In speech, sir, on the speaker only will go on speaking, while
Yes,
in conversation,
one way.
words are exchanged.
Right. Conversation between two people. Words are exchanged, information is exchanged, right? Conversation between two friends, right? This is a lecture. Now we are trying to communicate, right? I am trying to make this lecture in a conversational mode by asking questions to you. But primarily, what I am doing is I am giving a speech, I am giving a lecture, right? Conversation, non reciprocal, overt and reciprocal, right? You should understand that. Globalization of communication. Today, we call communication as reduced the world, right? Because if we talk maybe of earlier days, when we used to communicate through letter writing, right? And there was no other mode of communication. A letter has to reach, if it has to reach another country, it may take a week, right? But nowadays, within a few seconds, you can send an email, right? How communication and communication technologies have reduced, right, this world, right? Have brought together everybody, and that is why we call this world as a global village, right? Please make a note who coined this word, a global village, coined by Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan is the one who coined the word a global village. What is this global village? Communication explosion that is creating a weird world, right? A virtual world, right? That is we call as global village. Global village that has happened because of this communication explosion. And did you see this quote? A message can travel faster than a messenger, right? In earlier societies, right? Kings used to make use of messengers, right? To send messages between kingdoms, between people, right? Now, what is the nature of this message, right? A message can travel faster than a messenger because that is how we have developed, right? Through email, through WhatsApp, or through SMS, right? Through the technology of communication, which has developed rapidly. Now, a message can travel faster than a messenger, right? Understand that. And basically, some facts about verbal and non-verbal communication. And it is said, right? And research has been done that non-verbal communication is most of the part we are communicating through non-verbal communication. More than 70% of our communication happens non-verbally. Whatever you say through your words, through your voice, it's just 20 to 30%, right? And just check what are those non-verbal communication. So unconsciously or consciously or unconsciously, most of the time, you try to reveal what you're trying to say, maybe through your non-verbal cues, non-verbal communication, through your facial expression, tone of voice, your movement, appearance, eye contact, gestures, and posture. All these things reveal what you are trying to say. So, see the importance of non-verbal communication, right, in the process of communication. Verbal is just 20 to 30%. Non-verbal is more than 70%. Understand that. And some of the non-verbal signs, why we use these such signs like road signs, right? You would have seen. Why we are using such road signs? Can you say? Symbols, graphs, charts, and flow charts, especially. What is the role of these road
They are,
signs?
sir, they are catchy and can be repetitive. No person need to be standing on the road to direct them every day.
Okay.
Sir, moreover, they are time saving.
Time saving. Okay.
One more thing, sir. When if it is in English language or any other language, some uneducated, illiterate people may also be there. But if it is in
Yes.
symbolic form, it will be easily understandable, sir.
Very good. Very good point, sir. That's very good. Yes. Everybody can understand symbols and sign, right? So that is why today in the season of elections, always they are looking for symbols and the chinnam. In Tamil, they say chinnam, right? They are fighting for that because if they get the right, okay, symbol for their party, okay, a catchy symbol, they will get good votes, a good number of votes. Likewise here, stop, okay, all those symbols, even an illiterate person can understand, right? That is the major reason for using symbols and signs, signboards, all these things anybody can understand, even an illiterate person can understand. So while going on a road, different types of people will travel on a road. So in order for everybody to understand, we are using sign language, right? That's good. Right, body language. And we are talking about non-verbal communication, right? So many things uh, maybe we can say, talk about body language. So eye contact, keenness to talk, tight lips, it shows that you're angry, open palms, it shows openness, foot tapping, right? It shows impatience, right? And if you fold your hands, what is the meaning? Can anybody say? If you just fold your hands when somebody is talking to you,
A defensive approach, sir. I didn't agree with that
defensive,
person.
or you're not open, you don't want, you're not interested in the person you're talking, or you are defensing, right? That's good. Just watch this video, you'll understand about some of the body language the person is using and how you can correct it. Is the audio and video clear? This is not one. Yes.
Alice works at a local.
Is the audio video clear? Can you hear the video?
Yes.
There's a lot of talking involved, but there's also another. Alice works at a local department store. She spends most of her day interacting with customers and coworkers. There's a lot of talking involved, but there's also another form of nonverbal communication that's being used just as often. Body language. Body language is the process of communicating through nonverbal signals. It includes things like our posture, facial expressions, gestures, and more. The meanings of these all vary from culture to culture, but we instinctively read body language and interpret it as some expression of moods, feelings, or intentions. So in Alice's case, even before she speaks, she may be communicating all kinds of things to customers. For example, if her arms are crossed and she's avoiding eye contact, customers may not find her to be very approachable. However, Alice could be in a friendly mood, even though her body language suggests otherwise. And this isn't necessarily a conscious choice that she's made. This could just be how she habitually presents herself. But if Alice is aware of these habits, she can work on improving her body language. Changing your habits can be difficult, but if you take time to pause and check in with yourself, you can start to notice them and adjust things to become a better nonverbal communicator. This awareness can also be applied to reading others' body language. Let's say Alice notices that her coworker is unusually quiet, has his body turned away from her, and is slouched over. She may pick up that he's upset, or that there's an unspoken issue at hand. Depending on Alice's relationship with him, she may want to give him some space or ask if anything's wrong. Being aware of the various aspects of body language can make all the difference in how people perceive you and how you perceive them. Be aware of how you present yourself, and you can say a lot without speaking.
GCF Global, creating opportunities for a better life.
Right. The video is self-explanatory. I think I need not explain. So presenting good body language is important, right? Especially in a professional setup, you have to carry yourself in a positive manner, right? And be conscious of your body language. That's very important. Okay, we'll continue. About written communication and oral communication. So I need your response. When do we use written communication? If you see the merits and demerits, merits and limitations, you will understand. So why we use written communication? Because it is accurate, it is precise, it's a permanent record, it's a legal document, right? Anything that is written is a legal document, okay? That is why with written records, people go for courts for maybe to challenge certain, okay, in cases only written communication is valid. Something that you say to somebody is not valid. That is why it becomes a legal record. That is why anything that is written is a permanent legal document. It can reach a large number of people, helps to fix responsibility, right? Anything that is written helps to fix responsibility, suitable for complex information, formal and authoritative. So you should know written communication is mostly used in a formal communication setup, in a formal context, right? What are the limitations of written communication? It's time consuming, expensive, not in terms of postage, but of the time of so many people involved, right? Somebody has to post your letter, you have to write your letter, and it should reach the other person. And quick clarification is not possible in written communication. And a person should be literate. You should be able to read and write. Okay, in order to write, he should be a literate person. Only then he can communicate through written mode of communication. And risk of leakage is there, right? Sometimes you see how press people, they try to release some letters, okay, of communication between big shots, between political people, or from the chief minister's office or prime minister's office. They try to, the risk of leakage of written communication is more. And also with regard to oral communication, right? Can you say any more, any points regarding written communication and the context in which you use? You can comment in the chat box. Coming to oral communication, what are the merits and limitations of oral communication? Oral communication saves time, saves money, right? It's more forceful, conveys shades of meaning, immediate feedback. You can clarify immediately in oral communication. You can talk to that person clearly, right? And can be informal and good for interpersonal relationships. But generally, oral communication we use for interpersonal relationships, with the communication between friends, family, right? Can informal communication happen in a company, in an organization, or in a workplace? Is it possible? Can in an organization, is that only formal communication that is okay there? Is that just people communicating formally? Is there only formal communication in a company, in a workplace? What do you say? Can
If it is not a work related conversation, it will be an informal communication in the workplace also.
yes, communication between colleagues, it can happen. In some informal communication can happen. Good, madam, that's good. It can happen, right? It is not that you are always going to talk about company matters, workplace matters, organization matters, right? At times, that is, we will be dealing with that in the next class. Small talk, okay? Small talk is very important to maintain good relationships with your colleagues, with your subordinates, with your superiors. So we will be discussing about the importance of small talk, okay, in the next session, right? Informal communication can also happen in a at workplace, right? Understand that it is not you communicate always formally in an organization. And some of the limitations of oral communication, not possible for distant people. When people are in different distant places, not connected with each other, oral communication may not be possible, right? You can talk over phone, but in the absence of mechanical devices, that is what is important. Unsuitable for lengthy messages. If you want to convey so much of things, if lengthy messages have to be conveyed, talking over a phone will not do. So if you send a letter, the person will read it at his or her leisure, and they can read and understand the message properly and communicate to you, right? Respond to you. So if it is a lengthy message, avoid talking over phone. Okay, if you're talking to a manager, or if you're a teacher, or in a professional setup, in a professional setting, you should communicate only short messages, okay, over phone. That is suitable. Unsuitable for lengthy messages. Oral communication, messages cannot be retained for long. No legal validity for oral communication. Greater chances of misunderstanding, right? That is why always text messages, oral communication are misunderstood. So if you talk face to face, if you write it, put it in words, okay, most of the miscommunication, misunderstanding won't happen. Registers and jargon. right? Words have special meaning in a certain field, right? That is registers, right? For example, instrument. Okay, instrument means you know what is an instrument. Generally, we call an instrument, but in the language of business, especially in the language of finance, in banking, an instrument may is called as check or demand draft. What it means there in the banking sector, it means a check or demand draft. That is why registers are words that have special meaning in a certain field. You have to understand that. And jargons, words specific to a particular department, medical jargon, sports jargon, legal jargon, right? You can find out more words like that. I would like to introduce what is a register and jargon. Maybe you can do more searching, Google search, and try to find out more words related to registers and jargons. Okay. With that, I'll end the lesson. Maybe you can ask some questions. If you have any comments, you can put in the chat box. And I would like to give you some tips on writing your assignments. You can put your comments or you can put your questions in the chat box. Assignments, especially for BEGAE 182, I have corrected many assignments. Most of the mistakes that students do, right, what I've observed is, especially with regard to reading comprehension, for every paper, especially with regard to general English paper, you will have a reading comprehension. So most of the students, what they do is they just copy the lines from the paragraph, right, and just write it as answers. So in reading comprehension, you have a paragraph, you just read the paragraph and you have to answer 5 or 6 questions, right? That is reading comprehension. There, don't try to copy the lines exactly from the passage, right? Try to understand the passage and write in your own words. That is very important. You have to comprehend the passage, and you have given 5 to 10 questions based on the passage. Try to understand and write in your own words. That is very important, right? Don't just copy the lines from the paragraph. And this is what most of the students do while writing assignments. You don't do that mistake. And be careful with your spelling, grammar, especially while writing your assignments. If all these things are proper, then you will get good marks in your assignments. Okay. Use your own words while writing your assignments. Don't try to copy from somewhere, or don't try to copy the lines from the passage. If you try to write in your own words, you will definitely get good marks, especially with regard to assignments in general English. Okay. If you have any doubts, clarifications, you can put in the chat box. The rest of the part we will deal in the next session, which is scheduled on 20th. I think you know the schedule, right? You can check the schedule and join. Next week, we will continue with the rest of the blocks. A written message also gives the receiver sufficient time to think, act, and react to that respective message. That's good. That's good. That's what I said. Very good, Yogesh. Written messages also gives the receiver sufficient time to think. Yes. At their leisure, whenever they are free, they can read the letter and try to understand it and respond correctly. That's good. Time to think, act, and react to the respective message. So when somebody is talking to you, you cannot decide immediately in certain official matters or professional dealings. Thank you. Nice details of writing assignments. Yeah.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, yes.
Sir, I would like to know the question paper pattern and how much the total marks.
Total marks is 100. You will
Okay,
write
sir.
assignments for 100 marks. Usually, you will have reading comprehension.
Okay,
A few
sir.
questions. You have to read a passage and write answers for those questions. And you will have some grammar part, fill in the blanks, prepositions, or filling the blanks with the right words. Okay. And letter writing, report writing, and dialogue writing. So such things will be. Most of more 50% of the content you can write on your own. That is how the question paper is set.
Okay,
right?
sir. Okay, sir. For
Remaining,
the
you can
exam
refer the
also.
part.
For
Yes,
the
ma'am?
exam purpose, most of the thing are own.
Yeah,
We
you
have to
can
write
write
on
on,
our own.
yeah, 50%. 50% you can refer the material, study material.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, that
And
is how the questions will be asked.
okay, sir. And we would like to know that previous Feb question papers, sir. There is no any update for that question paper. Just for the reference, we need
You
to
have it
see.
everything in the web services assignments.com. You can visit that and find out previous year question papers. January session is there, Jan 2020, July 2020 question paper. From July 18 onwards, it's available.
Okay, sir. Okay,
You
sir.
can visit the student support. Go to
Okay, sir.
student support, igno.ac.in, student support. There, click assignments.
Okay, sir.
You will be directed to a website where all the assignments question papers are put up year
Okay,
wise.
sir.
Okay, you can check that. You can find out the model question papers for that. For you,
Okay,
you
sir.
have tried which session you are admitted into, July 2020.
Yes, sir. July
Okay,
2020.
then you refer the assignment question paper, Jan 2020, July 2020 session.
Okay, sir.
Both are the same question paper. For Jan
Okay,
and
sir.
July
Okay, sir.
2020, you have same assignment question papers.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
can I ask one question, sir?
Ah, yes.
Sir, there is no assignment in portal, sir. In communication English, sir.
In English,
There is
for
only
English
three assignments
communication
only available.
skills, for English communication skills,
No, sir.
for which
BEGAE 182 is not available, sir.
it's not available.
Not available in portal, sir. Only 131, 132, and 181 available only, sir.
I'll check and let you know. I'll just leave my number. You can just call me.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Find out
Okay.
and let you know if there is any problem with that.
Okay, sir. Okay. Kindly provide, sir.
Okay, I'll just post my number. Those who have any doubts or if you have any trouble with the assignments, you can contact me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I've posted my contact number. You can just contact me if you have any clarifications, if you need any assistance regarding assignments or regarding the course, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So it is mentioned in the question paper that the last date for the submission of assignment is 30th April. So is it the same now, sir? Could you please clarify it once?
I hope this session was useful. We will continue the rest of the blocks in the next week, okay, in the next session. Yes, yes, it's a kind of an overview of the subject and to counsel you regarding the assignments. And we will deal with the rest of the topics in the next
Sure.
video.
Thank you, sir. It was a
Thank you. Thank you
pleasure talking
for
to you.
listening.
Sir, sir, I have a question.